Let's take a look at our top selections for Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The feature race at Gulfstream Park on Saturday is the Grade 3 Suwannee River. Let's take a peek at this field. Fillies and mares going 1.125 miles on the turf. 7-5 on the morning line for the 3, La Suwannee, who has all the big class lines, but also has to deal with a layoff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the real question. I suspect she'll be the favorite in this race, Dan. She probably should be. As you mentioned, she's got the class lines. Only went 1 for 7 last year, but she kept some pretty good company and ran well in some of those races.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector, Mike, because I have a feeling this projector is right in that the 8 drop a hint is going to be forwardly placed, but you're going to want to visit timeformus.com after scratches are announced, because the 4 Logic and Reason is also cross-entered at Tampa Bay Downs, and that would affect the pace if Logic and Reason runs there. This pace projector will update automatically. Great Island has tactical speed and can get a good trip no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like she probably can. Great Island can probably get a good trip. Logic and Reason, certainly should be forward if she runs in this race. She's not exactly a speed, Dan, but she's very tactical.
I have a feeling this pace is going to be moderate, maybe even almost on the slow side. The 1 is Make Me Dream, and we're going to go to Make Me Dream's last race at Tampa Bay Downs. She ran 3rd in this race. She was only beaten 3/4 of a length. But these are $25,000 now winners of 3 life horses, and now she's stepping up into a graded stakes race. It just seems like a lot to ask.
It really does. I mean, as you mentioned, they dropped her in here, I think, looking for a win, Dan. She's even money in this field, and she can't get it done. Not a big excuse for her there either, stepping way back up in class. She's going to have to do a lot better than that.
Great Island is a lightly raced horse, to be sure. 5 years old. This is only going to be her 5th lifetime start, but I think it's a good sign that she's back without another pesky layoff line. Let's watch her last race, the Via Borghese at Gulfstream, going 1 mile and 3/16. I didn't think she broke very well in this race. There wasn't a lot of pace in front of her. She came 3 wide most of the way, and she's going to grind this out to finish second behind a very sharp horse. Always Shopping would come back to win the Grade 3 La Prevoyante with a 94 buyer.
Yeah, I mean, I thought she all in all ran well in that race, Dan. I mean, Always Shopping is just a really, really good horse right now, and gave Great Island no chance to catch in there. I thought this filly ran well. I'm not sure what that DQ was about to place her 3rd in that race. I don't know. I like basically all of her races, and I feel like she does have upside, even though she's a 5-year-old. I mean, I think you have to worry about stuff like that. How much better can she really get as she's, already turned 5, but she's very lightly raced, and I think she's run pretty well in all of her races.
La Suwannee, your morning line favorite, was a stakes winner at Gulfstream Park last year, and then she was thrown into some tough spots. She ran well in that Mint Julep, just missing to the late closing Secret Message, and then look who she's in against: Rushing Fall and Newspaper of Record and Bow Recall and Civil Union. I thought all in all in the Flower Bowl, she got a pretty decent trip in that race. She's just not that good. I think turning back in distance works for her, and we did see Brendan Walsh bring a horse off a layoff the other day and do well.
Yeah, a really good horse in that Zofel, who won off the layoff a couple weeks ago. I mean, listen, she's La Suwannee is the horse to beat in here. I would caution just maybe a couple of things, as well as she ran last year in some good spots. She didn't really have that many excuses. In the one race that she did win, she got a little bit lucky to win that one with a really good trip, while her aforementioned stablemate did not get a very good trip in that race. So I don't know. She's the horse to beat in here. You referenced the pace earlier, Dan, where there's not a lot. Also worth noting, this filly got a lot better when Brendan Walsh taught her how to rate. They were taking her back and making one run with her last year.
Logic and Reason, the number 4. Let's go back to her most recent start at Tampa Bay Downs. Now winners of 2 other than she got up close to the pace in this race. That was key. She's going to grind these horses down at the end. She runs right by Classy Woman, one of the 2-to-1 favorites in this race. Logic and Reason is going to win. Classy Woman 31-1, pardon me. Logic and Reason has now won 2 out of her last 3 starts. She seems to be coming into her own for Christophe Clement, and a case could be made. You run in the Endeavor. That seems like a very comfortable spot from a class perspective. You run here, it's a very comfortable spot from a pace standpoint.
Correct. And in here, she really only has those 2 other horses, it feels like, to deal with. It just, to me, just isn't a very strong field, and she could get a really good trip in this race. So I wouldn't be surprised if they opted to run her here, Dan. I wonder, though, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm not sure that more distance is actually good for this filly.
I think you're right. I think this distance is a little bit stressful for Logic and Reason. I like her at a mile. I like her at a mile and a 16th. We'll see how she does stretching out to a mile and an eighth. Loving Moment was overmatched in her stakes debut last time out in the Marie Krantz at the fairgrounds, but I also didn't think she got a very comfortable trip. It was sort of a conservative ride by Gabe Saez, who had her in between horses, and then the next thing you know, she shuffled back to last on the far turn, and she's not going to contend against those horses with that kind of a trip. From a buyer standpoint, she's a little bit light.
Yeah, a little bit light. And you're right. That maybe that was too tough last time. I feel like this might be too tough as well. She did win 3 starts back and won very easily at Mountaineer, but only a 71 buyer, Dan.
The last time Tilting at Windmills ran on the turf, she was a winner. She was trained by Chad Brown in that race. She's hit the board in her last 2 starts on synthetic at Turfway Park. Last time at finishing ahead of a horse that would come back to win a 1X with a 74 buyer. Another mare that is a little bit light. She's a very lightly raced 5-year-old, but distance I don't think is going to be an issue considering this pedigree, and maybe she could get a little close to the pace.
Yeah, I agree with that. And listen, she's one of those fillies who you feel like maybe Chad and Klarovich Stables just gave up on this filly because they got so much stock that they, had no problem dropping this horse in for 40 when she won that race at Belmont the last time she was on turf. I mean, her races prior to that weren't great, but they weren't terrible. This is she could still get better, this horse.
Drop a Hint got a valuable graded stakes placing 2 back against fellow 3-year-olds in the Sands Point Stakes. She was 3rd that day, although no match for Tama here. She ran off the layoff last time out in the Pago Hop. That was a pretty solid pace in that race over a wet turf course. I didn't really see that much of an excuse. It was a decent enough field where the 3rd horse came back to win with an 87 buyer. If she can get to the lead, maybe she can put these to sleep, but I have some concerns about the distance.
Yeah, I do too. But I guess you could do worse than a horse like this at a price if you feel like she's just going to clear off and get to the early lead. I mean, her races 2 and 3 back weren't terrible.
Let's take a look at our top picks. For the grade 3, Suwannee River, you're going with Great Island. I still think she has some upside if Chad can keep her sound. And the fact that she has the tactical speed and the ability to sit right up close to the pace, why can't she work out a nice little in-out pocket trip?
Yeah, that's why I took her. I just felt like she was really the only alternative to La Signore. And, La Signore, is she the horse to beat? Yes, but she feels like she could be even money in this race, Dan, and I don't love her.
That's a fair point. Again, considering the layoff and considering the fact she had good trips in some of her races last year and couldn't fire on through, I just think Walsh has found a nice spot for her here. And I have a lot of respect for his abilities of getting horses back from a layoff. 3-2-4-5 for me, 2-3-4-5 for Mike. It's the grade 3 Suwannee River, race 6 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Good luck.